Reacher thought he was finally getting close to the truth, but what if the biggest threat was never the enemy standing in front of him? After the shocking events of episode 4, Reacher is suddenly pushed into a situation where the police are hunting him, dangerous enemies are closing in, and the mystery surrounding Anna's death becomes even darker. Episode 5, titled Bridge, takes Reacher deeper into a conspiracy that appears to reach far beyond one murder or one criminal organization. And the most dangerous part is that Reacher may no longer know who he can trust. After everything that happened in episode 4, Reacher enters episode 5 with one major problem: he has become the most wanted man in Philadelphia. The official description for Bridge reveals that a misunderstanding puts Reacher directly in the sights of the police, while old enemies begin catching up with him and new enemies emerge from the shadows. But this is exactly the kind of situation Reacher is built for. He does not need a perfect plan when everything goes wrong. He needs one clear target, and this time that target is the truth. The mystery has already taken several unexpected turns. Anna's death, the missing government information, Jacob's personal loss, and the strange connection between the people hunting Reacher all appear to be pieces of the same much bigger puzzle. Episode 5 is where those pieces begin moving closer together. Reacher is no longer simply trying to protect innocent people. He is trying to understand who created this entire operation and why Anna was important enough to become a target. The situation becomes even more dangerous when Reacher realizes that staying in one place is no longer an option. The police are looking for him, while the people behind the conspiracy have their own reasons for wanting him dead or captured. And that creates the perfect storm for a Reacher-style chase. Instead of waiting for his enemies to make the next move, he has to start thinking several steps ahead. Meanwhile, Jacob, Tamara, and Plum are pulled into their own dangerous situation. The official synopsis confirms that the three become involved in a firefight, giving Jacob his first real opportunity to avenge his sister's death. That detail could be extremely important because Jacob is no longer just helping Reacher solve a case. This has become personal. Every clue now carries emotional weight, and every enemy connected to Anna becomes a possible target. But the biggest question remains the mysterious information Anna left behind. A critical flash drive becomes one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire investigation, and whoever controls that information could potentially expose the people hiding behind the conspiracy. That is why the enemies are willing to take enormous risks to get it. Reacher understands that the drive is not simply evidence. It is leverage. And if he can discover exactly what is hidden inside it, he may finally be able to connect the criminals on the ground to the people operating above them. This is where the title bridge starts to feel especially interesting. A bridge can connect two separate sides, and Reacher may be searching for exactly that connection, the link between Anna's murder, the mysterious attackers, and the powerful people who may be protecting them. The deeper he goes, the more dangerous the truth becomes. And just when Reacher thinks he has finally found the path forward, someone from the other side is already waiting for him. But Reacher's biggest problem is no longer simply finding Lila. He has to figure out why so many powerful people are willing to kill for the same piece of information. Once Anna's flash drive is finally opened, the mystery becomes even stranger. Instead of revealing a simple government file, the drive contains an old photograph connecting Congressman Sampson, Cahill, General Putra, and an unidentified scientist in Indonesia. At first, the photograph may look like nothing more than an old memory, but Reacher knows better. If mercenaries, government agents, and Lila's organization are all fighting to obtain it, then someone has spent years making sure the truth behind that photograph stays buried. This is where Reacher's investigation takes a completely different direction. He is no longer chasing a missing flash drive. He is chasing a secret that could connect the present-day murders to something that happened 25 years ago. And the most suspicious part is that Congressman Sampson seems to know more than he is willing to admit. When Reacher questions him about the photograph, Sampson identifies the mysterious fourth man as a scientist who was supposedly working on malaria research, but claims he cannot remember his name after all these years. For Reacher, that answer is far from satisfying. A man with nothing to hide would not need to hide behind uncertainty. So, the question becomes simple: what really happened in Indonesia, And why is that old photograph worth killing for? Meanwhile, Jacob is becoming more dangerous because his grief is turning into anger. After discovering what happened to Anna and Ben, he wants revenge, and episode 5 pushes him closer to finally getting it. Jacob, Tamara, and Plum find themselves caught in a violent firefight, giving Jacob his first real opportunity to strike back against the people responsible for his sister's death. But revenge could also become a weakness. Lila understands that Jacob is emotional, and she can use that emotion against the entire group. She does exactly that when she takes Jacob hostage, forcing Reacher into an impossible situation. Reacher can fight almost anyone, but this is different. His enemy now has someone close to him, and that changes the rules completely. Lila knows Reacher's strength, but she also knows his weakness. He cannot simply walk away when an innocent person is in danger. And this may be the most dangerous part of their entire confrontation. Lila is not trying to beat Reacher in a straight fight. She is trying to control his decisions. She wants him angry, distracted, and predictable. But Reacher has survived too many traps to underestimate her twice. The first time, he trusted Lila and walked directly into her setup. The second time, he will know exactly what kind of enemy he is facing. And that could turn the entire game around. Because when Reacher finally stops trying to understand Lila and starts hunting her, the people behind this conspiracy may realize they have made one very serious mistake. They gave Jack Reacher a reason to stop playing defense. And once he starts coming for them, there may be nowhere left to hide, but the flash drive does not give Reacher the easy answer he was expecting. Instead, it creates an even bigger mystery. When Reacher and the team finally examine the contents, they discover an old photograph showing Congressman Sampson with General Putra and another unidentified man. At first, the picture seems almost useless. There are no long documents, no obvious names, and no direct proof that Sampson is involved in Anna's murder. But Reacher immediately understands that the photograph itself may be the reason everyone has been fighting so hard to recover the drive. Why would Lila and Amisha risk everything for one old picture? Why would government agents be desperate to find it? And why did Anna believe this information was important enough to send it to Jack? Reacher contacts Sampson and asks him about the photograph, but the congressman insists that the Indonesian general was once an ally and that the picture alone would not destroy his political career. However, Reacher notices something much more interesting in the background. There is another man standing with Sampson and General Putra, and nobody seems to know exactly who he is. Sampson claims the man was simply a scientist working on malaria research, but Reacher is not convinced. In Reacher's world, coincidences usually do not exist. If that scientist is connected to Lila's operation, then the photograph could be the bridge between an old military mission and the deadly events happening now. Meanwhile, Anna's phone reveals an even darker side of Lila. The messages and videos show that Ben was not simply killed. He was tortured, and the location of that torture leads Reacher and Tamara to an abandoned restaurant in Philadelphia. This discovery changes the investigation completely because Reacher can now reconstruct what happened to Ben from the evidence left behind. He understands that Lila was using the location as part of her operation, and that means she has been much closer to Reacher's investigation than he realized. But Reacher does not get enough time to process the evidence. Lila is already there. And this time, she has something Reacher cannot ignore. Jacob has been taken hostage. Lila steps out with her karambit knife and demands the flash drive. She knows Reacher has it, and she knows exactly how to force him into making a choice. Give her the evidence, or Jacob dies. This is where the real danger begins. Reacher has faced armed soldiers, assassins, corrupt agents, and entire groups of criminals before. But Lila is different because she understands how Reacher thinks. She knows he will never sacrifice Jacob just to protect a piece of evidence. At the same time, Reacher knows that giving Lila the drive could destroy the only chance they have of discovering who is really behind everything. So, for the first time in this investigation, Reacher is trapped between two impossible choices. And that could be exactly what Lila wants. She does not need to defeat Reacher physically. She only needs to make him choose emotionally. But Lila may have forgotten one important thing. Reacher is at his most dangerous when he has no good options left. Instead of panicking, he begins looking for the smallest weakness in her plan. Because if Lila believes she has finally cornered Jack Reacher, she may be walking directly into the trap he has been waiting to set. And whatever happens next could reveal whether Reacher can finally turn the entire conspiracy against the people who started it. But the biggest danger is no longer the chase itself. It is the fact that Reacher now knows Lila has been one step ahead of him. After the bridge confrontation, Lila and Amisha survive the fall and immediately continue their search for the flash drive, proving that Reacher's enemies are far more determined than he expected. Reacher, meanwhile, has finally escaped the authorities and reunited with the team, but he cannot afford to waste another second. The evidence Anna left behind is too important, and the mysterious photograph on the drive may be the only connection to the people who are truly controlling this operation. Reacher begins looking at the photograph from a completely different perspective. Congressman Sampson is standing beside General Putra, while another mysterious man appears in the background. Sampson claims the man was simply a scientist working on malaria research, but Reacher immediately senses that something does not add up. Why would Anna risk everything for a photograph if it was completely harmless? And why would Lila go to such extreme lengths to recover it? These questions suggest that the photograph may be more dangerous than the flash drive itself. It could prove that the conspiracy started years before Anna ever discovered it. It could also explain why powerful people are connected to Lila's organization. And if Reacher can identify that unknown scientist, he may finally find the bridge between the old events in Indonesia and the murders happening now. But before he can follow that lead, another threat appears. Jacob is still trying to understand what happened to his sister, and his anger is making him easier for Lila to manipulate. She understands that Jacob is not going to stop looking for answers, so instead of killing him, she uses him as bait. By taking Jacob hostage, Lila forces Reacher into the exact situation she wants. The flash drive is in Reacher's hands, but Jacob is in hers. Now Reacher has to decide how much the evidence is worth when a man's life is hanging in the balance. This is where Lila believes she finally has control. She knows Reacher cannot simply walk away, and she knows he will not allow Jacob to be murdered in front of him. But there is one problem with Lila's plan. She is assuming Reacher will react emotionally. And that could be the mistake that destroys her entire operation. Reacher has already admitted that he got Lila completely wrong once. He trusted the wrong person, followed the wrong theory, and walked directly into her trap. He will not make the same mistake twice. Instead, he begins searching for the weakness inside her new plan. If Lila wants the flash drive, then Reacher can use that desperation against her. He does not need to defeat her immediately. He only needs to make her believe she is winning. Because the moment Lila becomes confident enough to lower her guard, Reacher can turn the trap around. And that could lead to the most dangerous confrontation of the season. The question is whether Reacher can save Jacob without losing the evidence, while also discovering who the mysterious man in Anna's photograph really is. Because if that man is the missing link Reacher believes he is, then the people behind this conspiracy are about to face a much bigger problem than they expected. They are not just being investigated anymore. Jack Reacher is coming directly for them. Now Reacher is facing the kind of situation that can turn even his greatest strength against him. Lila has Jacob, the flash drive is still the key to the conspiracy, and Reacher has very little time to decide what to do next. But the real danger is that Lila may believe she has finally figured out how to control him. She knows Reacher will not abandon Jacob, and she knows the information on Anna's drive could expose people who have been protected for years. The confrontation at the abandoned restaurant therefore becomes much more than another fight. It becomes a battle of intelligence, where one wrong move could cost Jacob his life or put the evidence directly back into the hands of the people responsible for Anna and Ben's deaths. But Reacher has already learned the most important lesson of episode 5, never assume the person standing in front of you is who they claim to be. He trusted Lila, and that mistake nearly destroyed the entire investigation. This time, he has no intention of making the same mistake. Instead of giving Lila exactly what she wants, Reacher could use the flash drive as bait and force her to reveal where the conspiracy leads next. The mysterious photograph on the drive is still unanswered, especially the identity of the fourth man standing beside Congressman Sampson and General Putra. That man could become the missing connection between the old Indonesian operation and the dangerous network Reacher is fighting now. And if Reacher discovers his identity, the entire investigation could suddenly change direction. The most interesting part is that the people behind the conspiracy may believe the flash drive is their greatest weapon, while Reacher sees it as their biggest weakness. Every person who is willing to kill for that drive is telling him something. Every attack gives him another clue. Every attempt to silence him proves that he is getting closer to something powerful. Meanwhile, Jacob's decision to fight back against Lila shows that he is no longer simply the grieving brother caught in Reacher's investigation. He has become part of the fight himself. But that also makes him vulnerable, because his anger can cause him to act before thinking. Lila already used that weakness once by turning him into a hostage, and she could try to do it again. The next move therefore belongs to Reacher. He has to rescue Jacob, protect Tamara, keep the flash drive away from Lila, and somehow discover who is actually running the operation from behind the scenes. And there is another problem. Reacher is now wanted by the police, which means every step he takes could bring another enemy directly to him. Episode 5 turns Philadelphia into a dangerous maze where Reacher cannot trust the police,